like a bit of light. We gotta go. We gotta go. Yeah, look good now. So wait till main lady Kaajal's on, and then we'll get this show rocking and rolling. Yo Hina, yo Zainab. Whoop whoop. 1, 2. Where's Kaajal? Boom. Whoop. It's quite an easy one. Look, Kaajal's like straight on it now. Like 3, 2, 1. Boom. Kaajal is in the house.
Hi.
You don't have to copy me for my hair again. You know, we've had this discussion already. You know what I mean? We've got to make sure we're obviously different coloured coded dress. That's the main thing. But like hairstyles, we've got to make sure we keep the hairstyles slightly different.
Yeah, I'll remember that for next time.
I got 4 pieces of paper with loads of questions on them.
Okay.
It's like a little essay here. I've got a little essay. So we'll see what questions we have, and then we can get started.
Okay.
But right, guys. Obviously, main man host Hanney, and then we got the main lady Kaajal. Kaajal's got a fascinating story. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. Some of you may have seen pictures. But obviously, she has an incredible journey, and it's not been a short journey. It's probably been a good decade or even longer. But I'm sure Kaajal will share that with you. So, basically, Kaajal, let's start off with I don't know, a little introduction to yourself, who you are, what's your age, what do you do, etc.
Okay, so I'm Kaajal from Leicester. I've been a YouFit member for around 2 and a bit years now, just over 2 years. I'm 37, and
You got to look a bit now. You look like 30, 31 now.
I know.
You're going into your new job and just look fresh as hell.
Yeah, I know. I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow, actually. And I'm a teacher and head of department for computer science.
I thought you were going to play it down then. I just thought you were going to say you're a teacher and just leave that. But no. That's it. You got to drop it in there. Yeah, I'm head. Trust me. You got to make sure. You got to be proud of yourself. So well done for doing that. Boom. So I'll give you 2 points for that. You never know. Through this interview, I might give you some points.
Okay.
I might give you some. I'll point you and score you at the end, and we'll see how it goes.
Are they redeemable points?
Yeah. You can always add and take away. So we'll see with that. But yeah, Kaajal, in terms of obviously next week, you start your new job next week, right?
Yeah, I start tomorrow.
We'll explore that, and we'll explore the headspace behind it, how you felt, obviously, because obviously we can appreciate a lot of people in this moment are either feeling overwhelmed, got a bit of anxiety and feeling anxious and stuff like that, and we're no different. We may be perceived differently from others viewing this or others that know us, but actually in reality we're just as human as everyone else. But we'll go into that journey. But we'll basically start really is, where did your journey start? Where did you start? So where did you embark on this journey? But actually, no, let's rephrase that. How did you get to the point of starting?
So the point of starting, I've always been overweight, even when I was a kid, growing up in my teens, till and then even when I had my daughter, I was very, very big. And after I had her, I became quite ill because I had an overactive thyroid. And at that particular time, after I had my daughter, I think I was weighing in at around 115, 118 kilos.
Wow.
And my thyroid had become so bad that within the space of 8 months, I ended up losing like nearly 60 kilos and just became really, really ill. So I developed heart problems and a heart condition called atrial fibrillation. and I wasn't able to do anything because I was just physically so weak. I would have panic attacks, um, like hot and cold. I used to lose quite a lot of hair as well, one of the drawbacks of having a thyroid issue. Um, and it was that even at resting, my heart rate was like 140. So I was never able to go and do any physical exercise. And I would just just feel complete exertion whenever I even used to pick up my daughter when she was like 3 years old.
Oh wow.
Um,
So just context then. So you obviously went all the way up to about 118 kilos,
mhm.
right? But then obviously because of the thyroid issue that developed, it made you lose quite a lot of weight dramatically. How long
Yeah,
would you say that?
very.
How many kilos did you lose? 60.
So around
Yeah.
60 kilos in the space of 8 months.
Wow. And a lot of people perceive that as like really good, right? But
Yeah.
obviously when it comes with a side effect of the thyroid, did you not know about the thyroid? Did that take some time to understand it? Because obviously
Yeah, so I didn't know
dramatic.
about this thyroid at all. So I was quite happy thinking, oh, this is great. I'm not doing anything and I'm losing all of this weight. But it was only when I could start to feel myself. I used to have shakes and panic attacks and just not being able to do a lot physically and just constantly being tired and ratty. Which
Well, you're that already.
I knew you were going to say. Um, but it was only when I started having panic attacks at work that I got they had to call an ambulance for me because I had a severe panic attack. And when I went in, they checked my levels and they said that I've got an overactive thyroid and it was quite severe. So
Oh
at
wow.
that particular time, I was referred to the endocrinology department, and the consultant had said to me that the range for normal five, whichever unit that they measure in, and mine was 154. So it was completely off the scale, and that's why I ended up losing so much weight so quickly. But it came with so many drawbacks. And I was actually able to do a lot more before I developed the thyroid condition.
Yeah.
So that slowly stabilized after a while, and it kind of sorted itself out. But then I think it was around probably 7, 8 years ago, it started to redevelop, and it got to a point where I needed to do something because it just kind of had a halt on my life. So I wasn't able to go and lose weight healthily or do anything to change my body or how I felt about my body. And that kind of got me in like a really downward spiral about
So
how I was feeling about myself.
so just to clear then, so obviously you went all the way up to 115, and then you came all the way down due to obviously the thyroid, and then obviously after you got the thyroid diagnosed, they put you on correct medication, but obviously due to that, due to the extent of that loss, but due to the things that you couldn't do, exercise, not do normal things, pick your door up and things like that, and then is that when you developed, like you mentioned, you developed a bit of feeling more low? Is that when
Yeah.
is that when when you started to gain weight as well then?
Yeah,
Did
that's
you
when
re
I
could you
started
did
to
you re
gain
did you
back
re
weight.
did you re regain weight? Because I can imagine
Yeah,
when
I
you
regained
lose,
quite a lot of weight.
yeah, because when you lose that amount of weight, for example, obviously the interesting thing is, and we've had this discussion, but you lose that dramatic weight, and obviously because it came at a cost, it wasn't like you did it steadily, which we'll talk about, Jenna, because you're doing it really well now. But for example, that then creates a fear of that, right? So I can imagine that fear of feeling
Yeah.
like that, the fear of being there, the fear of not being able to do exercise, the fear of not being able to move, low mood. Actually, you rebel against being there, so therefore you obviously develop other behaviors that self-soothe, like food and eating, to
Mhm.
move away from that. In terms of when you moved away from that, what did you go back up to then? How was that? How long was that transition?
So before I had my thyroid operation, I think I went up to around 100 or just under 100 kilos.
So when did you have the thyroid operation? Was it the end of that or was it mid?
So I had my thyroid operation December 2014, which
Yeah,
is when everything really like kick-started for me in terms of being able to actually do things and lose weight health, like, in a healthy approach, and just pushing myself to see what I'm actually capable of because it had been such a long time. So I developed my thyroid condition when I was 21,
yeah,
just after I had my daughter, and it was a good 10 years after
yeah.
that they actually removed the thyroid. So those 10 years I was just not able to develop myself physically into what I wanted to become.
Oh wow. So this is the thing, right? So remember that a lot of people watching this, you got to understand there's a big story here, right, guys? You got to understand the extremities of being 118 kilos, the thyroid developed. Now, typically, we could say the thyroid develops for a lot of reasons. Majority of them are probably to stress on the body itself, and not being aware of it, but also remember misdiagnosed, not catching it soon enough. So there's so many elements to it. But also then she lost a lot of weight and then obviously regained. But also then, for example, you got to appreciate she lost 10 years of her life. Now, for a lot of people, and obviously bringing her family up and having a daughter and stuff like that, right? It's a lot of time. But also then to have your thyroid removed, right? But having your thyroid removed, guys, for them, those of you who don't know this, but having your thyroid removed is a big thing, right? The thyroid is a massive regulator for metabolism in the body itself. But having it removed can obviously cause a lot of complications if you don't manage it well. But obviously, from that point when you had it removed, then Kaajal, what was do you have further medication? Did you just put you on thyroxine? How did it look from that perspective?
So I'm on a lifetime supply of levothyroxine now, and I take that every day in the morning.
Well, you
To
got a big
mimic.
cupboard, you got a stash, you got a big cupboard stash.
I have actually. I have. So I take that every morning, to mimic the thyroid function. Um, and it's just one of those things that I've accepted. Initially, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to take my medication. I've always been really poor in being compliant to taking medication. I was very like quick to say, "Oh, this is wrong with me and this is wrong with me." But when they would actually give the medication, I'd be like, "I already feel better now. I don't need to take it." But I know I
But
need to take it.
that's true though, right? A lot of people go through them phases. Like when you're obviously on medication, the thing is this stigma behind being on a medication from the outside in, and how we judge ourselves is the stigma. And then actually, what we do when we start to feel good, well, I don't need that now. And a couple of days off it, you get away with it, you start to feel better. But then again, you can come crashing down on you again, right? So you can
Yeah,
go in highs and lows quite rapidly, especially with the thyroid.
yeah,
But what was you? So if we moved on then, so when you obviously that the operation, how many? What was your weight then? About 100 kilos.
around 100. Yeah.
Yeah. And back then, when you started to obviously take the medication.
So it was interesting because I'd just met my now husband Nilesh, and
Main man
he
Nilesh.
was really, huh?
Main man Nilesh.
Main man Nilesh, definitely main man Nilesh. And it was interesting because Nilesh is so wealthy and done so many things, and like quite spontaneous as well in what he does and what he did, that I wanted to explore so many different things that I was just did not like was not able to when I was in my 20s. So he would often say to me, "Oh, what is it that you want to do?" I don't know. Like, I had to do. I know I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to be healthier and I wanted to be fitter for myself, but also to kind of be a role model for my daughter as well,
Yeah.
and raise her to be healthy and not necessarily fall into the habits that I fell into when I was younger and using food as a comfort for other things. So I initially started quite mildly. Part of the martial arts club that I'm with, they also do Tai Chi. So I first started out with Tai Chi. Um, I really enjoyed that. And then I used to go to the boxing club that they've also got, and I really enjoyed that and let
Sure. Yeah.
out a lot of
I wonder
frustration.
why. I wonder why.
Let out a lot of frustration when I was there. Um, and then I joined the actual martial arts, so Kung Fu. Whilst I was doing that, I joined the local leisure centre gym, and I didn't bother hiring a personal trainer there. I just thought, oh, I'll find out about okay how to lose weight, go on the treadmill. And I remember the first time Nilesh, because I was quite obviously um overweight, my confidence was really low. So Nilesh came with me the first time I went to the gym, and we got on the treadmill, and I think it was on 5 kilometers an hour, and my heart rate shot up to like 160. And he was like, "Yeah, I don't think we'll be doing this for a while." I was like, "Okay." I did have a little bit of success, but not a significant amount because I had no idea about food. So I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've gone to the gym. Oh, that cake looks really nice. The cake's around 400 calories. I'm sure I've burnt 400 calories, but obviously it goes a lot deeper than that in terms of food and nutrition."
It does for you. It does for you as well, right? Because I bet a lot of people, when they watch this about thyroid, you've got to understand your metabolism is very different now, right?
Yeah,
It's not to put it bluntly, it's not as clear cut as mine to some degree,
no,
right? Because obviously yours will naturally be a lot lower than mine. Your basal rate will naturally be a lot lower than mine because you ain't got the thyroid. So you've got to look after it a lot more than me in that sense. And
yeah, definitely.
some people see that as like, why me? Like you said, like why me? Like with the medication, but why me? Why me? They've got it easy. They've got it easy. Because I remember we've had obviously bits and bobs of conversations like that. But ultimately, for example, it's just that you've got to learn to, like you said, learn to accept it, right? Learn to understand it, learn the nutrition behind it, and obviously, well, that's probably where we're going into. But what happened after obviously the treadmill scenario then?
So I started doing a few bits and bobs at the gym and doing kettlebell classes and doing all the other classes that they used to offer, and I lost a little bit of weight, but then obviously I'd just gain it back because I had no idea how to stabilize my weight or lose weight properly. I then joined one of the more commercial gyms, and because Daksha was there, Daksha's my sister-in-law, and she was really enjoying it, so I followed her there, and hired a personal trainer. And I think at that point I was 95 kilos, and I just got engaged, and we were planning our wedding for 6 months' time. So I was in kind of like I need to get stuff done, like, what's going on. Still had no idea about nutrition. Even with a personal trainer, it was very much, oh, just don't eat as much. Okay, then, like, don't eat as much of what? But I did manage to lose quite a lot of weight whilst I was there, and I was happy with somewhat happy, not happy now when I look back at them, but happy at the time of what I had achieved when I did get married.
Cool.
Um,
It just
and
means
then
you
I
know what that
met
means, don't you?
you.
You know what that means, don't
Sorry,
you? You know what that means.
well,
Nilesh just needs to
I
renew
should
his
have
wedding
joined
vows.
it. Yeah,
No. It just means you've got to renew your wedding vows.
yeah, probably.
Just have some badass pictures taken now. Like, yeah, boom, this is it. But
um,
that'll be a nice thing to do in the future.
it would be. I then joined another. It was a personal training gym, and I was there for around 4 or 5 months. It was very expensive, and I thought, oh, because it's a bit more expensive, I'll probably be getting a better service, but it didn't quite work out that way. And it was very much focused towards getting personal bests on doing like compound exercises and Olympic weightlifting, and I just had no interest in that at all. It just wasn't for me. Um, and I actually ended up gaining more weight whilst being there than actually losing weight. And then I saw posters of Danielle on all over, plastered all over my uh, Facebook. And I was thinking, because I know Danielle from the martial arts club, and I saw that she had had such great success, and it was someone that I would trust to give me an honest opinion. I did message Danielle and say, "What do you think of this?" And she said it's just completely life changing, which is when I rang UFIT, and I came in for our consultation, and the rest is history, really. So when I actually joined UFIT, I think I was around 85 or 86 kilos at that
Yeah.
point.
Wow. And what are we now?
66,
What was that?
66,
What
66,
was that? What was that? What was that? 6'6".
66.
What was that? 66 kilos.
Yeah.
Right, guys, there's one for you. And the interesting thing is, remember, she has a thyroid condition. It doesn't mean she can't lose weight. It just means she has to manage it. And then she has to manage her headspace more. If, for example, I was going to ask Kaajal what the probably biggest transformation was, I undoubtedly probably, she would say the program's nice and the gym's nice and the members are nice, but undoubtedly the most where she's probably grown with help and encouragement is probably headspace. Would you agree?
Most definitely, yeah. I'm
Right?
just a completely different person. It's not only that I look different, but I'm just not that person. That I don't resonate with that person that I was when I joined UFIT. I've developed so much in terms of my mindset and breaking down barriers on what I think I'm capable of doing, and just trying to address where some of my behaviors came from and making sure I'm not repeating those kind of mistakes again, and recognizing if, like, when I do like slip up, because we all do, it's part of life, to have strategies in place on how to get back on it.
Yeah, I think that's important to probably acknowledge as well, because remember, a lot of people from the outside in just think, oh yeah, she's done it linear. But for example, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but for example, a bit like me to some degree, Kaajal, you looked in the mirror when you have challenges or obstacles. They are, don't get me wrong, they are real. They're perceived real, should I say? Because obviously we put that a lot of emotion behind them, right? And I don't
Hmm.
know for a fact when it's interesting because when I challenge you on a habit or something like that, you defend the habit because your emotions are connected with the habit. But actually, when you really step back out of it, it's actually not real, right?
Mm.
Or the behavior can be broken down. It's not as dramatically as you make out. But for example, you've gone to, I know you had been to Stefan, talked to Stefan and things like that. And guys, this is something to remember as well. When you're on a journey, for example, you've got to be willing, not initially at the start, but as you go through your journey, you've got to be willing to look yourself in the mirror more and more. Because at the start of a journey, it's very easy to feel motivated. It's very easy to feel that, for example, you're making progress because it's obviously a new environment, new people, new training program, and you're going to get some results. It's natural. When you go to most new facilities, naturally, you're probably going to get some results, right? I don't doubt that. But it's when you get to the nitty gritty, when you get to like the 6 month mark, then you get to the 12-month mark, then you get to the 16th month and the 24th month, for example, that's when you really got to develop your headspace. That's when you really got to dig deep. I think a lot of people really misunderstand this about when you go for a transformation. Is that the digging deep happens probably at month 10. Because I remember it felt like, for example, in the first year for you, for example, we had a transition, right? And then I know we had an honest of a conversation. I'm like, well, Kaajal, you know what? You've got to do the work,
Yeah.
right? But you've got to do the work mentally. We weren't about the nutrition, is about the mental aspect. And it'd be interesting just to share with people, like, give people an insight to what you do now, like do the work. Because when I say do the work, people just think you do the training and that's it, right? But describe to the people who are watching this, when I say do the work, what does that mean to you?
So do the work is being consistent in my approach to planning my week, planning my day, knowing what is going to entail, kind of envisaging any barriers or obstacles beforehand so I can prepare myself better for it. So every morning, I do slip up sometimes. I think this week I haven't done it once or twice. But every morning since January, I write in a journal, and I set out my day and what I'm grateful for, what my thoughts are about the day, what behaviors do I need to make that day successful for me, and who am I going to be on that particular day to achieve what I need to achieve. And then in the evening as well, I write down the success parts of my day, or what challenges I had, what barriers I need to overcome, what new habits do I want to develop that I noticed from my day. So I'm always reflecting on who I need to be to make that day and make my life successful to get to where I need to be. And then also reflecting on, okay, if I'm not there yet, or if that didn't work out quite well, what do I need to work on? Which area of my life do I need to work on? Is it on my career? Is it on my health, my spirituality? Is it with my family, with my loved ones? Whereabouts is it that would bring me what's central to me, which is being content?
Yeah, because the interesting thing, for example, people listening to that, they're just like, oh, it's all wish wash and things like that. But like, it doesn't mean like I know for a fact, just for guys watching this, it doesn't mean that when it gets to the end of the week and maybe Casual's not got a result, it doesn't mean she's not pissed off.
No.
Doesn't mean she's like, oh yeah, my week was like this. She does get frustrated. But you got to understand, if you think all of us think naturally when we get frustrated, we are only frustrated at ourselves because we didn't do the work. We could blame everything else, fine, and justify it to ourselves because that's what a lot of us do. But actually, fundamentally, when you're looking in the mirror, all you're frustrated at is yourself. And sometimes when we've had conversations on Friday, Casual is frustrated. Now she can vocalize that. Oh, Sam, my food's been great. Or yeah, according to your check-in, no, it's not. Right? Quite simply, right? But the thing is, for example, that does create conflict, right? Because I can be the villain and the hero, right? But that's what a coach is, right? Coach is there to point it out, but then you've got to accept responsibility, which is what you just mentioned about obviously reflecting. A lot of people don't do this enough. A lot of people continue to look forward, like, oh, I'm going to get this, or this is going to be how it's going to be, and so forth. Keep looking forward. But when you're never making progress, guys, it's not the case you can't look forward. It's the case you never look back. So if you're never making progress in life, in your career, in your health, in your well-being, in your spirituality, it's because you don't reflect backwards. Because 9 times out of 10, when people say reflect backwards, oh, it's full of, they focus on the negativity aspect of it, and then that negativity just doesn't generate any excitement or any momentum to move forward. But what Kaajal does, she reflects backwards and just asks herself better questions. Okay, where can I improve? What didn't work for me? For instance, why did that not work? Now, guess what? She is facing a mirror. So when you are asking yourself these questions and you're facing the mirror, they're tough questions to answer. But for example, of late, you can either go, it can be quite a simple one sentence. I didn't achieve that because of this. But you're only cheating yourself, because when it comes to true work on yourself, guys, it's not a 2-minute job. It's not a 30-second job. It actually requires a lot to you actually sit there and reflect on the week properly, which can be quite hard to do, because no one likes being negative on themselves, but it's actually part of the process to grow, which is just something to reflect on. Because remember, I'm not saying when you join a gym or join YouFit that you're going to focus on your headspace. You're going to have your performance book out. You're going to do all this, right? Because again, you have to understand that everyone has to build building blocks. Remember, Kaajal said to this, she's been with us nearly 2.5 years. At 2.5 year mark, do I expect people to really start to look at their health and their mindset a little bit more? Yeah, of course you do, because you've got to make it sustainable. Right? Fat loss is about sustainable. It's not a finite game. We're not playing a 6-week game. We're playing a flipping long game, right? Which is good, which you should be very proud of. Should be very proud of. So pat yourself on the back. So I'll get into these questions now, because some of these questions are quite good. I got like I said, I got 4 pages worth. So we'll start somewhere. Some of these are quite straightforward. I believe anyway. So let's just hit some bullet points. We'll go through these, then we'll get back to your story, because there's some strong bullet points here. When was the moment you decided you needed to change?
I think it was after I had my operation. Definitely. That was a major catalyst for change for me. I remember going away with Nilesh that our first New Year's together, and we went to Prague for the weekend. And I just felt so tired just walking around and doing things. And I almost felt really bad for him that he was stuck with me because I wasn't able to do much. And felt that he probably couldn't or didn't enjoy it as much as we would have if I was more active. And I think that's something that's been really important to me, even though I want to see a particular number on the scales. It's also for me about being able to do more and to live more and to experience more. And I think that's been quite pivotal in my journey and starting my journey. So because I want to be able to do more things with my daughter, I want to be able to do more things with my husband without them having to worry about the impact on my health, or oh, we can't do that because of, like, mum will get tired because of a thyroid, or like, mum can't do this because it was because I was overweight. That was the reason I couldn't do it. And I don't want to have that as a barrier, because that's something I can change. So it doesn't make sense why I wouldn't change it.
Cool. So that's like so for example, after your operation, it's like a fork in the road, right? Either start to go up. The interesting thing is, when people get to this fork in the road, is that people perceive the journey to change is hard, right? Really, really hard. So therefore, they either choose this fork in the road where they go, I'll just accept it. But this fork in the road is far harder accepting than actually doing the work. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think when you are at that point where you have to make a decision, if you don't change, then you're just choosing what it is that you're getting, well, what you have, and then you've only really kind of got yourself to blame when things don't change. going forward.
True. What would you say your biggest obstacle in your journey has been?
Mindset, comparing myself to others constantly, which I've stopped doing as much of, because I'm more focused on my own journey. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of the things that came up is when you measure your success by other people's ideas of success, you'll always feel like you've done a really crap job.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with
So
that.
I don't do that anymore, and I just think everyone's on their own path and everyone's achieving what they're capable of, and I'll achieve what I'm capable of and do it my own way.
How do you stay motivated when you're dealing with an injury? Because obviously that's a big one for some people, right, who have injuries. Because obviously some people with injuries, they veer off. I know, for
Yeah,
example, you found it quite challenging, and I know we had conversations about it. What would you say, like, what would your advice be when you had an injury?
give yourself time. Don't rush it, because injuries are like those. If you go back too early and you go at that same intensity that you were going at before, it will just pull you even further back than where you were. And it doesn't make sense to do that. Just give your body time to heal. But staying motivated, the things that kept me motivated were things like being a part of the accountability group, being a part of doing my daily journal in the morning and the evening, being a part of my like intention meditation group, just realigning my focus on other things that are working well for me as well. So
Nice.
training is only one aspect. The food is another area that kept me motivated, to make sure that, okay, I know I can't train at the moment, so if I let my food go, then that's going to have a major impact. Whereas if I focus more on my food, it doesn't matter that I can't train.
Yeah.
So even during lockdown, there was a period where I wasn't training for a good couple of weeks, but I was still managing to lose weight because I was focusing more on the food aspect.
Yeah. Which is important, right? And that's what people think.
Yeah.
Because obviously sometimes you go into that low spend, like, can't, people have this idealism that they can only look after their health when they do training. So when they do both concurrently, they
Yeah.
have it in them. They have it in their minds like, this is like, if I'm not doing this one, fuck it, I ain't doing this one. But
Yeah.
actually, you got to understand, life don't roll like that. Like, time doesn't stop and go, yeah, because you got an injury, we'll just pause time, and it will just let you. It doesn't happen like that. Life keeps going on, right? Take the
Yeah.
pandemic for example. Time just goes on, just carries on. So therefore, we have to adapt. We have to maneuver. We have to put things in place that allow us to keep moving forward. So
Yeah.
then when you bring training back into the fold, you're bringing it back into the fold, but it's still got to be steady. But at the same time, you're not detrimenting your journey, because when you have an injury, you could be progressing really well like you were. But if you get an injury, you could actually take yourself back 3 times as far, because then the food goes out the window. So you've got to build momentum with the food again, and then you've got to work on the training again. Right? So it's actually a double edge. So that's good. I like how you focus your intentions on other areas. What has been the best part of your experience at UFIT?
Just being around like-minded people and the opportunities it has opened for me in terms of, because I've got that different mindset, I approach things in a completely different way. And I feel more confident in myself, which is given indirectly like more confidence like in my family life or in my work life, and putting myself out there for more opportunities. I've made some really nice friends as part of UFIT, which is great because even though we're all from different walks of life or whatever, our common goal is to improve ourselves. And it's good having those people around you that are
Nice.
all on the same path. And I think that's been really valuable to me.
That's good, because you went for a coffee date the other day, didn't you? A frappuccino and 6
I
drink.
It wasn't a frappuccino, it was a
Kushby says
coffee.
Kushby says it's a frappuccino. Blame her.
No, it wasn't. It was a slice of carrot.
Hey, you give it
No, it
in.
wasn't.
You give it in. You
No, it
little one.
wasn't. I
I'm
actually
taking that.
didn't.
I'm taking
Okay.
that. I'm taking that. Um, Obviously, from a food perspective, for example, remember, food's been one of the most challenging for you, right? Because the
Yeah.
interesting thing is, You either like to bake or you like to have the best vegan food ever. Um, if you guys, I'll give you a tip. Trainers who are watching this, if you can't losing weight, check the Instagram page. Kajal's got a nice vegan Instagram page.
I
If
have, yeah.
she said she'd make this cake, and the cake ain't about 150 calories, about 900. But anyway, she loved it, and she's moved forward from there. She's progressed. But in
Okay.
terms of your food, Kajal, give everyone an insight. How's your food evolved over the course of obviously where you started to where you are now?
So when I joined YouFit, I was vegetarian. So it worked really well for me in terms of doing the D2S challenge because
Can I just pause you there because this is an
yeah,
interesting thing. You know, being a vegetarian, right? Do you really need to stress about protein?
no.
No. Cool, guys. Vegetarians are watching this, right? If you want to ask me a question about protein, protein is very important for a vegetarian. I get it. But guess what? The concept that how it's made up, how you utilize protein is very different to a meat eater, but it's not the number one thing you need to focus on. So I'll let you carry on now, madam.
So I joined May 2018 as a vegetarian, and then I became vegan in December 2018. Um,
And I was like that when I was like,
oh,
I was like that when I was like, what? We're going vegan? What? Vegan?
yeah.
Vegan?
Why? Why are you doing that?
Why are you ruining your life?
Yeah.
Guys, I ain't got
And
nothing against vegans, trust me. I work with all walks of life.
okay. So I became vegan December 2018, and since May I'm transitioning to becoming whole food plant-based. So moving away from the label of being vegan, because vegan doesn't necessarily mean healthy, because I did not lose any weight that first year that I was vegan, because I was like, oh yeah, chips are vegan, eat it. Oh, this cake's vegan, eat it. But it's
That's where
vegan, it's fine.
that's where the Instagram page comes in, guys.
Maybe. So that for that first year that I was vegan, I was actually the same weight in January 2019 as I was this year. And
Guys,
it's
just
only
quickly on this, right? I got hell for this, right? Hell. She blamed me. She kept blaming me, guys. Just to let you know, right? Okay, I need some sympathy here. She was blaming me for a year. All right, I was like, your veganism is just a 2,000 calorie diet every day. Nah, all good. But again, that's something to acknowledge, guys, right? Listen to what Kaajal said, right? She's transitioned from one being vegetarian to vegan. Now, she transitioned for not just losing weight, for example, but she's transitioned from a health perspective, from her spirituality, from her beliefs around food and stuff like that. But also appreciate when you do transition in food, it's not as simple. It's not as simple as going, you just transitioned. Because guess what? She's had to learn how to be a vegan, but also understand food, understand the concept of food, understand how the calories are made, understand how things are added together, combined differently, and get a head around it. And it took a year. Like imagine a year of not. She lost weight, so it's gone like this. But in the average from the start of the year to the end of the year, the average weight was the same. Imagine that. Imagine the head. I feel like swearing, but I'm not. But imagine the head mess behind that. Then imagine how you then challenge people. Imagine how you perceive yourself. Because ultimately, at that moment in time, Kaajal thought she was doing everything right.
yeah.
And Kaajal thought she couldn't lose weight because of the thyroid. So
Yeah.
let's transition onto this new plan then. So what's this new plan all about?
So in January, I thought, okay, I'm not losing any weight. I need to investigate a bit more as to what's going on. Because when people see or hear that you're vegan, they expect you to look a certain way. But I wasn't a healthy vegan, so I didn't look that way. But I wanted to become more healthy. I wanted to cut down on a lot of the crappy foods that I was eating. So I came across who is nutritionist, doctor, something in the States, and transitioning to a whole food plant-based diet. So I started whole food plant, my weight go down very, very quickly. And it was really, really good for me. because it was something that was sustainable. I was eating more, but still managing to lose weight and feeling full. And oh no, that was it. Because we had moved house, my diet just kind of went out the window again, and I started putting on that little bit of weight that I had lost and went back to just being an unhealthy vegan. And then since lockdown, I kind of invested a bit more time in this. So obviously when I'm out and about, I revert to being or having the vegan options. But when I'm at home, I would say I'm 95% compliant with being whole food plant-based. So eating most of the things that vegans eat, but just not having any of the refined things like white flour or unrefined sugars or oils, and just learning to cook and
Is that what makes your
enjoy
skin? Is
food.
that what makes your skin glow?
I think it is, and my
Yeah,
skin has actually improved.
I think I need to follow your diet. But yeah, the interesting thing is, right, guys. Obviously, she got to understand she's still adapting, she's still learning. But what she's saying is, she just changing the diet wasn't the case of the reason why she lost weight, though. The interesting thing is the transition, because obviously you have whole foods, you actually eliminated pointless calories and calories that you don't necessarily need. So naturally,
Yeah.
it's going to allow her to feel fuller for longer without some of the process elements of things. But again, that's a transition. It's something to learn and something she's still learning. And
Mhm.
the interesting thing is, she's going into work next week and start going back to work. So again, she's got other obstacles. So don't think that this journey of food, especially, is going to be very easy. There's still going to be obstacles. There's still going to be head games. There's still going to be like, oh, I'm tired and so forth. So it's going to require a little bit of planning. It's going to require mental fortitude. It's going to require all the things what for the last couple of months. But still challenge yourself. Because guess what? Her journey, this is something to remember, guys, when you're on a fat loss journey, a health journey, it doesn't get any easier. So if anyone's looking for a breath of fresh air or something to just accept that being healthy or on a journey of health, it's just hard in general. You have to keep reminding yourself, you have to keep challenging yourself with food, you have to keep challenging yourself with exercise, you have to keep challenging yourself with daily activity, because we all know what we would rather do. Sit on the sofa, be lazy, get processed food, get easier food, for example. So remember, a health journey is always going to be challenging, and obstacles are going to be faced, and you just got to be ready for them obstacles, because there's obviously going to be more to come in your journey, isn't it, Kaajal?
Yeah.
Just one question here from Rima Lewis. I don't know if you know her.
This is my cousin.
Oh, perfect, right? She's asked a nice question for you. She says, how to keep it consistent, workouts and eating healthily, etc. So what would you say give your take on it?
In being consistent.
Yeah, how do you keep consistent? Because obviously consistency is a continuum, right?
Yeah.
I'll let you share yours and I'll share mine.
So being consistent is just trusting the process, I would say, and not trying to change too many things and too many variables at once. Before I was very much the type of person where I would try something out for a week, and if I didn't lose weight, I'd be like, oh, sod that. It doesn't work. But it's because I didn't give it enough time. So remaining consistent is just trusting the process that you're a part of and knowing that the results will happen. I think in this day and age, everyone wants to see results very, very quickly, because we are in that kind of society where everything is instant. So
Yep.
people want instant results, but in the long game, it's not going to be sustainable for you. So it's trying to remain sustainable at the same time. So I'm not the type of person where I'm saying to you, oh, I train out 7 days a week, because I don't. Because that's not sustainable for me. That's not sustainable for my lifestyle. Even with food, yeah, we do order takeout maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks, because that's sustainable. Saying, oh, I'm never going to eat takeout again or go to a restaurant again, that's not sustainable, because that's not really how life works. So it's just about making it something that's achievable for you, and being consistent with that. So the way I keep consistency in terms of my training as well is that at the beginning of each quarter, I've got a 90-day goal. And I break that goal. Okay, this is my overall goal, which means in 60 days, I need to achieve this. In 30 days, I need to achieve this. In 15 days, I need to achieve this. And on each of those 15-day markers, I will note down what I should have achieved by that and what I have actually achieved. And then I'm able to identify, okay, where do I need to refocus? So, for example, the past week and a half, I've not gone running, which means my goal of running 2 marathons in 90 days has kind of gone out the window. But I know that when I redo my check-in for my 15-day goal, that will be my more severe focus as such. Well, my more of my energy will go into that next time.
Correct, because it's measuring backwards, right? And then going, okay,
Yeah.
I've not done that. Okay, I need to focus more attention on that because the other areas are okay, right?
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing what you mentioned, I think I have a misconception of effort. The more I do my role, the more I do this job. I think people have a misconception of effort. So you mentioned it earlier. When you do a week of a new thing, the perception that the person has doing that one week is I've put everything into it. Why is not this working? Why is the results not showing? Right? But just 1 week. And if you look at, guys, this is something I got told a long time ago, but if you look at everything in life that gives you value or makes you feel fulfilled, it will be things like career. If you go after what you, it will, for example, and a family, and it'll be a relationship.
You're kind of
But
cutting
these
out a
things
bit.
are not built in a week. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll restart then. So the perception of the week, for example, is that after a week you put a lot of effort in, so you should see a return in your investment. But the thing is, for example, in terms of how much effort you put in, you're not put that much in. Your perception is telling you put much effort in, i.e., you think you've done well on your food, you think you've done the exercise, but actually in reality, if I ask several people, have you written your food down? No. Okay, did you track how many calories you burnt in the workout? No. So therefore, how can you actually measure backwards and tell yourself that you did a good week? But actually, the perception of it, I've done a good week, is the issue. But like I said, a lot of the things in life that give us more fulfillment and happiness are the things that take time to grow and build, i.e., growing up with your daughter, seeing her as an adult, for example, will give you a lot of satisfaction, but that don't happen in a week. Your marriage, for example, to Nilesh, you don't see the satisfaction in that in a week. You see that over a time span of when you're like 90, you look back and go, wow, we had a great relationship, right? And it's the same for me, right? You don't see, we get too lost in seeing things for a week. But consistency is one of them, but also not being the rabbit in the hare. Is it rabbit in the tortoise? Where the rabbit is like, I'm going to change all this in my diet. I'm going to eliminate all this because I've heard this is great. Because Claire down the road does this, and she told me it's great. So I'm going to do that as well. And actually, guess what? What worked for Claire don't work for you. But actually, if you see Claire in 3 weeks' time, she's put all the weight back on. But you don't see that bit because you only notice what she told you. So then you do the same thing and then look back at square one. So Kajal's right. You got to do things. You got to be patient. But you got to do things that you're willing to do. Here's one for you. If you say to yourself you're going to do 10,000 steps a day on a scale of 1 to 10, honestly, you said 6. Guess what? The goal's too big. It's just a fact. You've got to make sure that when I say to you, for example, all right, Sam, you know what? I can do 6,000 steps a day. And I say to you on a scale of 1 to 10, how much can you do that by? And you say 10, then we're winning. But guess what? That may need to be your goal for 1 week. Because depending on how, I don't like using this word, damaged, or how much times you've attempted to lose weight and failed, your belief is very low. Very low. So like someone like me can instill a bit of belief in you, but for example, I could also crush it. This is why personal training it has a good job, because if you over pressurize or overthink this person can do all these things, ultimately eventually you just crush their belief, right? And then therefore they end up back at square one. So I think definitely you saying that consistency over a period of time and setting goals that excite you as well, I'd agree.
Yeah.
right? They got it. You can't like. I think again, this is very good interview because you mentioned about not comparing yourself to others, right? And not like like Kushbu likes running, so I'm going to do what Kushbu does and does running, for example. It doesn't work like, does it?
No.
It doesn't excite you. If it doesn't excite you, then you're following someone else's aspirations. I mean, you follow someone else's aspirations, for example, they're never going to be fulfilled. You're never going to be fulfilled. So therefore,
Yeah.
you're always going to be chasing. But yeah, well done. Boom. Hope that helps a lot of people. So one moment you need to change. Oh, here's a nice one. I love this one. It makes my head go massive. How would you describe Sam
Oh,
as a coach?
we're not allowed to swear, are we?
Just me. I don't mind.
Really, he. I don't think I've ever quite met anyone
I'm not
like
here. Look,
him.
just pretend I'm not here. Look.
Okay. I don't think I've met anyone quite like him. He's I think
I'm
Sam's
just there.
exactly
You know,
what
you
I
can
know.
just.
I think you're exactly what I needed in my life at that particular point, because sometimes with me the softy approach just doesn't work. And I'm not saying like you're a right hard ass or anything, but you are when you need to be. But then you can switch it just like that. If I need you to be compassionate, or if I need you to have some empathy for me or some sympathy for me, you can do that as well. And you cater your training, your coaching style for what I need. And it's not just the blanket approach, which I was used to when I used to have personal trainers. They would run the same session for me as they ran for someone who had only just come in, like, 2 weeks ago. And I'm thinking, how does that even make sense? It's always catered for what my needs are. So in terms of having you as my coach, I think has been um really helpful for me on the next stage. When I started, Helen was my coach, and she was also phenomenal as well in terms of introducing me to the things that will help me change my mindset. And I think Helen kind of laid the foundations, and you just kind of built me up going on from there, to be
I
fair.
think it's interesting because a lot of people always think you always. That's how youth it works, right? Everyone thinks in an isolation bubble that this is the way you go, this is your coach, and this is how you stay. But actually, at youth it, we work as a team, right? So
Yeah.
if we have to switch, crossover clients, change. Because ultimately, if we look at one of our core values, it's client-centered focus, right? It's always results focused, but ultimately, results focus. You have to remove your own ego from that. Because ultimately, for example, you're the most important. But as coaches, we have to say where someone's strong points, where someone needs to improve, and so forth. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the team. I think that's what we do great. We recognize that actually the client's the main focus, and we have to keep switching and moving, and rolling the dice really, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So another question for you. I'm just seeing, we've still got 3 pieces of paper here. What's the difference between UFIT compared to the other places you've been? I think that I can answer that for you, can't I? Just
Go on then.
not comparable.
No, they're not. No, I would completely agree. It's in a league of their own, to be honest. Even in terms of what I was offered at my previous places, it just doesn't really compare, because it's not just a weight loss thing. It's the whole aspect of your being. It's your wellness. It's your mental awareness of, and your mental like headspace and health and well-being. It's an all-encompassing service, I would say, as opposed to just, okay, come and join us for 2 weeks and lose like 10 pounds and okay, then bye. It's not that kind of thing. It's something that will give you the tools that you need to be sustainable long term in your life.
Boom, there you go. Answers right there. Here's one for you. What has been the most unexpected change since starting your journey?
Unexpected change. I would say just how confident I feel. Just how confident I feel in myself. The changes that I've made, not only just to my food, but the way I look at things and the way I approach things. Um, Things with like my family, having that the things that I'm doing now have a direct impact on Nilesh and my daughter Sanya, and them seeing that okay, every day or every other day in lockdown, mum's been waking up at 6:30 to go and do a workout, like on the Met classes or those kind of things, and just kind of
So basically,
in
what you're saying is the unexpected thing you notice is that you got fitter than Nilesh.
yeah.
He's
Maybe.
not he's not watching, so don't worry. Yeah, that's good though, right? The unexpected change is obviously your confidence. It's massive, right? Confidence is fundamentally right. Someone can say to me, Sam, I want to lose a dress size or 2 dress sizes, but fundamentally, what you basically let me read between the lines, love. What you're basically telling me, you want confidence, because that's
Yeah.
ultimately what everyone wants, right? Because
I
confidence
think it's
allows
just
you to do
impacted
more.
every aspect of my life. It's just made me a better, more positive person in the way I look at things. So even like career-wise, it's had a direct impact because the way people see me now that I've lost weight and I feel more confident about myself is completely different to how they used to approach me before. Because I
So that
would
means
feel low about myself, therefore other people would think that that's just like, her mentality type of thing. Whereas
yeah,
because I feel more confident, people are more confident in me and my ability also.
nice. I think what we'll do then, we'll put your membership price up because you've got a new job, and I'll just add that to my fees, and we'll just keep it separate to the company.
Okay.
In terms of let's go to like here now, because I know obviously like we had a conversation and stuff, and I think it's very important we do touch on it because I think a lot of people are in the same place. But tell what okay, I'm trying to get the question, but I probably won't get the question right, and but I think you know where I'm trying to go with it. Obviously, at the minute we're in a society where a lot of there's perceptions of things, there's feelings, there's actually reality versus not reality, there's assumptions about X and Y. But for example, where would you're not invincible to it, and neither am I, but for example, what's been your biggest challenge from a mental aspect over the course of towards like, I don't know, say towards the end of lockdown? I know initially a lot of people have fear and stuff like that, but that's come and gone to some degree, but it's still there, and there's still a stigma attached to it, and I get why. But how would you say you've dealt with that, and what are you gone through? What things have you've been challenged with?
I think I've been challenged with just how or when will this end?
Okay,
How having that certainty that I will be able to do this by this particular date, or I will be able to do this by this particular date, and knowing or having that, yeah, I would say certainty of when am I going to be able to do these particular things that I want to go and do.
strong word,
Be-
isn't it? Certainty is a strong word because obviously, if you
yeah,
look at it, most people plan ahead, right? So most people have got, if, for example, last year, most people have got right. We're going away here. We're going to do this. We're going to
yeah,
do this. So it gives a lot of people a lot look forward to, but also certainty, right? Because ultimately, that's when you book something, just one like a holiday, for example. 9 times out of 10, it's quite certain, right? You're going to pay your holiday and go, really. But again, I think that you're touching on something there. A lot of people, there's not much certainty, which is scary for a lot of people, right?
yeah, definitely.
And in terms of obviously progressing from that, then so obviously that certainty for you, where did that lead? Where was that with you? How did it make you feel?
I think it makes me feel more safe and more secure, um, knowing that these things are happening at the time that they're happening. I'm not quite sure how to really expand on that, but it just
That's
makes
okay.
me feel in a better headspace about approaching things, knowing that other things are in place. So, for example, going back into work or going into work tomorrow, not even back to work because I've not actually been in yet, but going to my new job tomorrow, I feel safe and secure because I know that things have been put in place, and it gives me that certainty in my employer that they are going to do everything possible to mitigate circumstances.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting. I think that's because remember the thing is as well, because we had a discussion on Friday, but like this your brain is flipping clever, right? Give it an inch, guys. It takes a mile. Actually, F that. It takes about 100 miles. About the worst case scenario that's going to happen when you go out of your house, times about 100, and then you're probably sitting on the right wavelength because that's what the brain will do to you, right? But like Kaajal said, she's got to go back to work. For example, is there initial fears? Is there some anxiety? Is it built up over time? Of course it is. For a lot of people who are watching this, right, anxiety doesn't happen there and then. Anxiety is like a tap, just dripping, gives you seeds, and then boom, when you're faced with, oh, you got to do this now, or you got to do that now, that's when you really start to feel it, right? But like Kaajal said, we did a little task on it. We looked at the positives versus negatives because ultimately, remember, going back to work, there's no certainties, right?
No.
All you can do though is like we did. Kaajal always looked at the positives, and you said obviously
Yeah.
about your employee, put loads of procedures in place. They've done this, this, and this. It mitigates against some of the negative things. But it doesn't breed certainty, but it brings a bit more positivity towards it,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's something for all of us to remember, right? When we leave the house, when we do this, when we do that. It's a bit like when we went to the boot camp, right, Kaajal? I'm like, Kaajal, come to a boot camp. I don't want to come to a boot camp. I'm like, guess what? Come to a boot camp. I think it was yourself, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said I forgot how hard I can train, but also forgot what it feels like to be around people.
Yeah, I think it was
Did you
something
say that on
similar.
Friday? Yeah, something. It weren't the exact lyrics. Remember, I'm not a singer, but but it was something like that, right, guys? Because remember, all of
Yeah.
us, especially for this youth, right? But actually being around, seeing like-minded faces and seeing actually real people. Because I don't think we actually also realize that actually people are still real and actually people are still alive in some form. But also, for example, actually being a coach, being pushed, being in that atmosphere is very different to being at home. But that's just something to drop on. Again, I want to share that with you because I don't want you to think, I don't want people to watch this and go, Kaajal's breathed lockdown. Don't get me wrong, guys. If Kaajal, in my opinion, actually breezed it, I'd say probably 70-80% of the bit, yeah. But I'm not going to sit here and take away that she breezed it just because she's who she is. No, guys, listen to this. If she would have hit COVID, for example, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, she would have crumbled. And I
Yeah,
know she won't. She'll acknowledge that and agree with that, right? And
definitely.
this is why you have to understand she's worked on herself, and that's why comparing yourself to others and looking around you and going, okay, she's got it nailed, she's got it nailed, she's got it nailed. How come she can do it? How come she can lose weight and so forth, so forth? She's just been working at this for a long time. And there's people in the journey of YouFit as well, where they're in the middle, at the start or in the middle, and it's challenging, and I get it. But just remember, guys, don't compare yourself to someone like Kaajal. Just remember you're on your own journey, so you have to look at your own things and work through them, right? Because that's where we all are in this world at the minute. We've got to work for our own headspaces, but our own challenges. But yeah, looking at Kaajal, for example, she's just a little bit further in the journey. But she, again, still challenging, right? It's not been
Yeah,
all plain
definitely.
sailing. Trust me, my one-to-ones have been horrendous. I've had like, I've had how many one-to-ones we had? I've had more one-to-ones now. But now I forgot. I'm at the end of this, at the end of this year, I'm going to need a year off. I've spoke for England. But guys, just remember that, right? It's a journey, and obviously all of us face with that journey. But yeah, Kaajal, do you have any lasting questions, or not lasting questions, but you have anything that you want to add finally to this amazing interview? And guys, if you do have any questions watching, please add them in now.
I would just say you thing is when people are unsure of something, they will make so many excuses as to why they shouldn't pursue it. So I did the same thing that when I came to UFIT after the challenge had finished, I was umming and ahhing, or do I want to join as a member, and can I afford it, or will I actually go? And that kind of thing. But it gets to a point where you have to realize that if you don't invest in yourself, then others aren't going to invest in you either, to be fair, because it's only because I invested in myself and I had that support. Granted, you need that support network, and I had that support from Nilesh and from Sanya, that I was able to accommodate working on me and putting myself first. And ultimately, it's going to have a lasting impact on them because I will be around for longer, because I'll be healthier for longer. And it, you have to kind of see it as a long game. If you're in it for a quick fix, you'll only get a quick result and then it will go back to what it was, because you've learnt nothing, and you will have learnt nothing from the process. And if you think of things that may have happened in your life where if I'd have done this, this would have happened, stop thinking about if I would have done it and just do it. I think that's what I would say. And it is scary. It is scary going into any gym when you've been overweight,
I think I'd agree with that.
When you've been overweight for such a long time, or you might have other issues or been underweight and trying to gain weight. There's so many variances on how people feel about their own body, but at the end of the day is, if you're not going to do it now, then when are you going to do it? Because if you're not investing in yourself now, you're losing out on time, I would say. And it doesn't make sense because we've all got the same amount of time. So using excuses of, I don't have time to go to the gym, I don't have money, those kind of things. If you were ill and the doctor said to you, here are some pills, you need to pay 200, 300, 400 pound a month to get yourself better, you would pay that.
Oh wow, that's a good one. I'm going to use that one. Look at that, that's clever.
Oh, thank you. But you
True
would
though.
though, you would pay
You
that.
would. Yeah, you would. The interesting thing is you'd scrap to do that really. It's interesting.
Yeah. So
I think
invest in yourself.
I think that reiterates why obviously sometimes I get questions like why is the membership 12 months? Well, guess what? If you want to work with someone for 2 weeks and go somewhere else, but actually it takes at least 12 months to really get in your head.
Definitely.
Then momentum starts, and then you're in the second year, then momentum really starts, and then third year, fourth year, fifth year. It's a bit like listening to Vimal's podcast last week, like 10 years. I messaged DMs like, that guy's been with you 10 years. I'm like, yeah, 10 years. That's a lot of work, right? A lot of graft. It's not just sat on the fence and thought, oh, let me have some popcorn and sit on the sideline. It's a graft. But I think it goes back to my. I don't know if you see my post in the group, didn't you?
Which one?
About what my coach said to me.
No.
Did you see it?
No.
Did you see it? Oh, I'll read it out to you. You might as well, because it'd probably be a good finish to the podcast. Coach. So this is what my coach said to me this week. Getting advice is great. Having a support network and peer groups is powerful, but none of it matters if you aren't willing to put the reps in required, even when it's uncomfortable and inconvenient. The words there I like are comfortable and inconvenient. Because here's the reality. And when I read this, it was really, it hit the nail on the head for me. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to do the work for you. No one can change your life but you. No one is responsible for your efforts but you. You have to take responsibility for your efforts and willingness, which means you've still got to do the work. You need to put the reps in. No one else will. So ask yourself, which one are you going to be? And I think, personally, that's a good ending to today's interview with the lovely Kaajal Chohan. Boom. Thank you, miss. It's been a pleasure. Actually, one more question.
Go ahead.
because I need to ask you this question because you shit yourself before. Prior to this interview, for example, this is a good one to just finish off with. You're scared about doing this, correct?
Yeah.
I got messages, I'm scared, I don't know what you're going to ask me. Can you tell me what you're going to ask me? What's it going to be like, etc., etc. Okay. How do you feel now?
I feel much better for it. Yeah, much better for it. It actually made me realize how far I've come as well, in my journey, and the different aspects that you just end up forgetting, and you're just so focused on the now and the future that sometimes it is a good idea to just step back and look at where you've come from. So it's been really useful and really helpful to me. So thank you.
There you go. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Boom. Peace out. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.